This is a horror ghost story, better to watch before going to bed, or more stimulating with headphones on. I am a freelance journalist. My job is to travel around, listen to stories whispered around the fire, and then turn them into clickbait articles for my personal blog. But I never expected that there would be a story that would make me never dare to set foot in the forest again. It all started with an email at 2:43 a.m., October 17th. No one sent it, no subject line, just an attachment, an old, blurry photo. In the photo was a simple wooden house in the middle of a dark forest. Below the photo was a handwritten line, "Return to Black Hollow before it wakes up." Black Hollow. The name seemed to awaken a part of the memory I had tried to bury for many years. It was the summer I was 16, a camping trip with three of my best friends, and the last time I saw Sam, a fateful summer. In 2003, me, Sam, Rachel, and Mike decided to explore Black Hollow, a forest deep in the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia. The locals avoided mentioning the name. They called it the Whispering Woods. The first night we camped in the woods, Mike laughed when people told him about the mysterious whispers that came in the middle of the night. "It must be the wind in the trees," he said. But on the second night, things started to get weird. We heard footsteps around the tent, even though there was no one there. Sam swore he saw a figure standing in the middle of the woods, just staring at the camp. But when we ran out, there was nothing but darkness and the sound of insects. The third night, Sam disappeared. We searched for 2 days. The police came, but there was no trace. No blood, no lost objects, no cries for help. Just the forest and the wind. 17 years later, I stood before a rotting wooden sign with faded, almost disappearing letters. "Black Hollow Preservation, no entrance." I knew I shouldn't go back, but something urged me on. Maybe it was the haunting, or maybe it was the voice I'd heard in my dreams for weeks, whispering, "You have to see it with your own eyes. I'm still here." I stepped into the woods, and the nightmare began again. Did you like the opening? If so, I'll continue to write longer. Sequels that will get progressively more horrifying, like meeting a lost friend, a cabin appearing where it shouldn't be, whispers that make sense, and an ancient entity rising from the depths of the woods. I stepped into Black Hollow just as the sun was setting over the horizon. The last pale light disappeared behind the dense canopy of trees, as if the sky itself were afraid to witness what was about to happen. The wind whistled through the trees, but there was no bird noise, no animal noise, only the sound of my own footsteps on the rotting leaves, as if someone were walking close behind. But every time I stopped and turned around, the forest stood still, as if waiting. I didn't use a map. Strangely enough, I felt as if I were being pulled along an invisible path, as if someone had imprinted this path in my mind. The log house. A little over an hour after dark, I saw it. The log house from the photograph. It wasn't as dilapidated as I'd expected. Instead, it stood tall in the middle of the clearing, suspiciously clean. The wooden planks looked freshly varnished, the windows unbroken, not a leaf clinging to the roof. I stood there for a long time, my heart pounding so hard that my chest ached. Every cell in my body screamed at me to turn and run. But my hand was already on the doorknob. It opened without a sound. Inside, no dust, no cobwebs, a red brick fireplace that still had warmth. On the table were 4 china cups. One was broken, 3 were intact, still had water stains on them. This house, it knew I would come back. I walked into the main room. On the wall was a yellowed framed photograph. Me, Sam, Mike, and Rachel. But I was certain we had never taken this picture, because in the picture there was a fifth person standing behind us. His face was hidden in shadow, and he had his hand on Sam's shoulder. Remember the basement? I froze. The voice, it seemed to come from inside my head, but it was clearly not my own. It was Sam's voice. I spun around quickly, but no one was there. However, a small door behind the kitchen was ajar, leading down to a basement staircase. I didn't remember this house having a basement, but my feet moved forward on their own. I had just stepped onto the first step when the door behind me slammed shut, and the whispering began to intensify. It's looking. It knows you're here. Don't go down. Don't go down. But I kept walking, downstairs. The stairs led down to a damp room, the pale yellow light from the fluorescent bulbs flickering on the ceiling. There was a large mirror in the middle of the room, from floor to ceiling. I saw myself in it, but the me in the mirror wasn't still. My reflection in the mirror, was smiling. Then it raised its hand, pointing behind me. I turned my head, nothing. But when I turned back to look at the mirror, the me in it was still pointing straight behind me. And slowly, I saw a face appearing in the mirror, right behind me. White, no eyes, just two deep black holes, and a mouth that was open unnaturally, as if it had been torn apart. I ran up the stairs. The lights went out. The whispers became screams. You can't leave! Black Hollow chose you! I pounded on the door, trying to open it. It seemed locked from the outside. Then suddenly, the door opened. I fell to the ground. I looked up. The house was gone. I was lying in the middle of the forest, and in the distance I heard a lullaby, a child's voice, but the melody was creepy. I didn't know how long I had been lying unconscious in the forest. When I opened my eyes, it was already dark, but the sunlight couldn't penetrate the dense canopy, and there was a musty smell in the air, the smell of damp earth mixed with something like rotting meat. I stood up, stunned. The wooden house had disappeared as if it had never existed, but the lullaby still echoed somewhere between the trees. The voice pulled me along. I couldn't resist. The unmarked grave. After about 15 minutes of following the song, I came to a small clearing. In the center was a stone tomb with no name, no shape, only a strange hand-carved symbol. A circle with a cross in the middle, a symbol I had never seen before. Surrounding the tomb were tattered pieces of cloth, like children's clothes. One of them had a red pattern that I recognized immediately. It was the shirt Sam had been wearing the day he disappeared. I fell to my knees, my throat closing. I touched the stone, and then a wave of dizziness knocked me down. The image flashed through my mind like a torn movie. Sam standing in the middle of the woods, crying. Mike screamed, pulling Rachel away. And I was clutching a dagger, and a shadow whispered in my ear, in my own voice, "Give it up, just one, and the forest will spare the rest." I fell backward, my heart almost stopped. Had I betrayed Sam? Had I handed him over to the thing in the forest? I couldn't believe it. I didn't remember. But memories don't lie, or had someone tampered with my memory? I heard footsteps. Someone was approaching. I stood up. My hands were shaking. I braced myself for anything. From the shadow of the tree, a figure stepped out. Sam or something else. Sam. There was no mistaking it. The thin face, the slightly curly hair, the big eyes. But his eyes were pitch black without buttons. His mouth was smiling. Not sad, not happy. It was the smile of something that was no longer human. "You remember?" Sam said. Not in my ears, but straight in my head. I didn't answer. I just stood there mesmerized. The woods showed me what you forgot, what you buried. I don't blame you, because I belong here now, and soon so will you. Then Sam began to dissolve like smoke from head to toe, and as the wind blew, the whispers came again, more louder, more frantic. Give blood, give blood, give blood. I ran. This time, I ran without direction. I didn't care where, as long as I got out of here. But the woods wouldn't let me go. I ran for a few minutes before I realized I was heading back to the stage. It couldn't be. I had run straight. I tried again, a third time, and each time I came back to where I started. The circle, the unmarked grave, the piece of Sam's shirt. It was getting dark. I sat down, exhausted, and heard the sound of a motorbike in the distance. The sound of the engine echoed through the forest like something completely foreign to this place. I stood up and ran toward the sound and saw a middle-aged man pulling an ATV to a stop at the edge of the forest. "Are you really alive?" he asked, his voice shaking. "No one will come in here and come out again." He was a forester named Harvey from a town west of Black Hollow. He said that the villagers had tried to burn the forest in 1968 after a series of mysterious disappearances, but the fire had not caught. This forest, it's alive, it thinks, and it's hungry. I asked him about the symbol on the gravestone. He looked at me for a long moment, then said softly, "It's the mark of the chosen one, the one the forest took as a sacrifice, the one who betrayed his friends to be spared." I'm not saying anything. I know what kind of person I am. How did you like this part? In part 2, the sacrifice, all the mysteries will be solved. What is the Black Hollow Forest? Why does it need sacrifices? And will the main character be able to atone for his past mistakes or become part of the forest? Do you want me to continue writing part 4 right now? Subscribe and ring the bell to follow the next episode.